Hello, everybody. I have returned. I did say that I was going to give you guys some expanded thoughts on the movie, and I do intend to do just that. You'll have to bear with me just a tiny bit here, though. I do still have my tendency to ramble. Keep that in mind. But, yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on a few things about that movie. Um, Namely some interesting story points and everything that I kind of noticed when watching it. Honestly, this is going to be a somewhat longer video, though maybe not as long as it might have been otherwise. If I see this movie more times, which probably won't be till it's on Blu-ray, I may revisit it with just a few revised or updated thoughts or some other stuff that you know I noticed. But for now, let's get started. Okay, first and foremost, I do want to note, and just kind of put out there, Minus was in the movie, and a nice big "I told you so." Okay, I ain't even gonna be nice about this right now. I told you so. All y'all kept insisting Minus in this movie was gonna ruin it. All y'all kept insisting that Minus in this movie was going to ruin it. That Minus is irreconcilable with Bardock facing Frieza. That Minus, can't explain why Bardock is so nice. And you know what? Honestly, I still hear people trying to carry that complaint into the movie. And all y'all need to sit down. Especially the guys who, I know several people with that complaint who definitely know better. Y'all need to sit down. You're dogpiling for the sake of conventional wisdom at this point, and to be consistent. But the problem is when you're consistently wrong, that's a problem. The long and short of it is, Bardock was not nice in this movie. He was not kind. He was not a warm person. He was very blunt. He was very curt. He did not soften any of his thoughts for his comrades. Even when he could see he was clearly freaking them out, what'd he do? Yeah, heck, he doubled down on it. He tripled down on it. Nope, this isn't innocent. Nope, something bad's gonna happen. We're probably all gonna die. He's gonna kill us. Stop it, man. You're freaking me out. Why? It's true. Like, come on. The Bardock was not nice. And Gina even makes note that his strange concern for baby Kakarot there um, is not usually like him. And to ask about Raditz, also not like him. The only reason he was behaving the way he was behaving was he sensed death was near, that death was potentially coming for them. And having spent his entire life, out there slaughtering and killing and conquering, part of him wanted to at least save something. Especially something as helpless as Baby Goku was. So that's why he sent him off. But I mean, it's to note when you see how he behaves around the other Saiyans, he is not kind. When you see how he behaves, or how he's stated to behave with his children normally, he is not a doting, loving father. This is not this warm, happy nuclear family unit that a lot of people seem to be complaining about. Not even in the slightest. Okay? So that complaint is dead. And what I love about this too is that this movie had so many people so pissed off just from trailers, okay? Insisting that Toriyama doesn't know what he's doing. Toriyama is clearly making this up as he goes along. He's forgetting things already. He's already retconning Goku and Vegeta to be the same age now. He's already retconning this to have, that, the other. And it's like everything still happened the way it was supposed to happen, especially as of the Minus revision. Everything lined up the way it was supposed to line up. We finally got an explanation as to why Frieza was the Emperor and Cold was hanging back out of sight. He essentially retired, left running his empire to his son, abdicated basically. Um, we got to see Frieza's ruthlessness when he demonstrated how the scouters work and just straight up killed those snipers that they had trained on them just in case. We got to see, you know, and it's interesting too because it's like years go by, 5 years go by, you know, and we see like time has passed. Vegeta is clearly older than Goku. They're not the same age. They're not. And one interesting thing that I thought was kind of nifty though was that we actually got to see we got to see sort of an explanation as to why Goku was so tiny, even as a teenager. Like he was still like super short when he was supposedly like 15, 16 years old fighting King Piccolo. So the whole, he's a late bloomer thing. There you go. I thought that was kind of neat, but whatever. But yeah, the whole Minus segment was actually really well done. Um, it was pretty dramatic. I actually felt sad to see some of them go. Like I know it's karma at the same time, but I don't know. Just seeing an entire race wiped out in the blink of an eye is unsettling. And still seeing Bardock out there trying to have his last stand. Like when Frieza pops up out of that ship, you can see them still. You can see all the people still floating there in front of the ship. Like you can see the silhouettes, and then he fires the ball, and then you see Bardock still firing into that giant death ball, trying desperately to stop it. Well, not even necessarily stop it, but just one last act of defiance, one last refusal to just give up and die. And honestly, I think that's what people mostly liked about the Bardock special, or at least I would think it is, because a lot of the rest of it is just kind of junk. But I digress. I like the Bardock special in that it's a fun thing to watch, but people treating it like it's some kind of epic piece of storytelling, you're kind of kidding yourselves. You really are. I'm sorry, but I mean, everyone has their preference, so whatever. But I'm just saying, Minus is not the problem people make it out to be. Nothing about what we saw in the beginning of that movie, which, by the way, is very little different from what we saw in the manga. So, if you get a problem with the manga but not how the movie does it, I have some interesting words for you. Uh, it didn't turn him into Superman, you'll notice. It didn't suggest that he's a special child with a destiny. That was literally the Bardock special. When he was shipped off, by random chance just before that happened, and Bardock sees all these visions of the future, and Goku fighting Vegeta is predestined, and Goku facing Frieza and avenging the Saiyans, that's predestined, and, that crap. His prophetic dreams. Not only made Bardock special, it made Goku special. And while a lot of people won't admit it, I low-key kind of think that's one thing they liked about it. Goku became a hero, a child of destiny, which sadly managed to sucker a lot of people in Naruto too, when he went from a self-made, pull himself up by the bootstraps character to the child of prophecy. A lot of people actually dug that. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I loved the way that was handled and the way they handled Paragus and Broly. Um, why Broly was shipped out. I loved it simply because a lot of people said that it was sheer jealousy. And there were supposed spoilers that leaked that said that it was just like in the old movies, pure jealousy. King Vegeta ships off Broly because he's jealous that he's stronger than Vegeta, and then you find out, oh no, no, it doesn't. That's not why. It's because King Vegeta, King Vegeta actually has a point. And it's something that's hammered home in the movie later. It wasn't pure jealousy. He did have a point. Now, I'm not going to say that jealousy wasn't a motivator. I'm not. Because King Vegeta, just like his son, was a very petty person. But he also did make a pretty level-headed argument. If Broly's power levels are going to, it's one thing for him to be exceptional and everything, but for his power levels to spike that high randomly and then, taper back down to normal, that's instability. And that could be dangerous. Especially since when it seems to really spike, he gets like really emotional and out of control. He was thrashing around in that pod and screeching. Um, so it wasn't an unfounded concern. Now he was extra. Pardon me, I have a bit of a dry mouth. Extra callous and cold about it. Sure. And again, jealousy was at least a partial motivator, but it was interesting to actually see that a bit more nuanced. And the fact that he gave that, at first I thought it was just an excuse, and then later on you see he was being honest. Like that was a possibility, and it's true. Um, so there was some really good setup in this movie with some payoff later. It wasn't just in your face, exposition, ha 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 ha, that kind of stuff, um, which is nice. You don't see that too much in a lot of Dragon Ball stuff. But the stuff Toriyama's been writing has actually had some pretty good setup and some payoff, which no one wants to give the man credit for. I don't know why, but they don't. Um, now, the another really interesting thing about this movie is one thing that I noticed is the relationship that Paragus and Broly have. You know, um, honestly, it actually reminds me a lot of how the fandom kind of views Gohan, like what they expected Gohan to be. Broly, like Gohan, is actually a very gentle soul. Broly, like Gohan, doesn't really want to fight. He doesn't have a whole lot of interest in that. All Broly wanted to do was play with his friend, and his father he couldn't stand that, so he he shot the thing's ear off and aggravated it and made it mad at Broly, and they wound up having to, you know, he wasn't his friend anymore, and he was trying to kill him again, and he wouldn't trust him anymore, and that's why he has that pelt. He made it out of that ear to remind him of when they were friends, and it's like a lot of that reminds me of stuff that Gohan would have done. They're kind of similar in that regard. In fact, and that's why I said that Paragus reminds me a lot of the fandom, or how the fandom wanted Goku or whomever to kind of be in terms of kind of forcing Gohan to fight. Um, in that, Paragus, he still forced him to train. He still everything else, and Gohan kind of like Broly, not to the same extreme levels or anything. But Gohan would kind of lose himself whenever he'd really spike up in that power. It was all rage. It was all anger. It was all, hate. Like, when he finally went Super Saiyan 2 and he was fighting Cell, Goku was even like, okay, that's it. You got him down. You got him beat. Finish him up. And he looked his dad straight in the eye and says, no, he hasn't suffered enough yet. And that's something that even scared Gohan about himself. But it's like he started to lose control, and that's something that the fandom doesn't like to look at either. Or they're just like, oh, if he starts to do that, just kind of knock him back in line somehow. And it's like, well, there you go. There's your shot caller. Like, what do you? I don't know. It's there. I don't necessarily think that was an intentional parallel. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but it is something that I noticed, and it just kind of made me chuckle because it's like, this is how y'all treat Gohan, and y'all don't even realize it. But I don't know. I found that kind of funny to me. Now, I gotta say one thing that I liked about this movie, and I like about the stuff Toriyama does in general, which for some reason really seems to irk people, is that no matter what the situation is, the man remembers his comedy. Like Toriyama is a comedy writer at heart, and I think a lot of people forget that. Okay. Um. Oh gosh. Like I don't know. Just Bulma wanting to wish for to be 5 years younger, and it's like why only five? First of all, why? And it's like because I want all the wrinkles gone, I want the lines gone, I want, and of course you Saiyans, you don't understand this, and they're like, well, why stop at five? Because then everyone would it wouldn't look natural, and then it's like Frieza, instant parallel. I want to wish to be 5 centimeters taller. Why? So it'll look natural. Just I love that, and I know the sad thing is, even though that was genuinely funny and frankly genuinely in character, and definitely in line with the way Toriyama writes stuff, I already know for a fact that there's going to be somebody out there angry that Frieza's quote being made into a joke. Like, dog, come on. Nobody is safe in this series from that. Literally nobody is safe from that. You will never find a character in Dragon Ball that has not at one point or another been the subject of a doofy joke. Or a part of one. It's who they are. It's what the series is. It's what Toriyama is. You got to keep in mind this man started with comedy manga. After Dragon Ball, he occasionally did comedy manga. Dragon Ball itself was at its heart part comedy manga. It's like if Jackie Chan did a shonen series, there's Dragon Ball, and yes, that includes Z, and that includes Super. That includes the whole thing. It has been consistently in there. I really don't know why people act like oh, that stopped way 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 back. No, it didn't. It was present and pervasive throughout the entire series. I mean, at one point in the manga, this was not an anime edition. At one point in the manga, while Piccolo and Gotenks are sitting there trying to strategize with Boo in the Rosat, they're sitting there arguing, and then they cut over to Boo, or they look over at Boo, and there's Boo reading a comic book, sipping on a milkshake, just sitting there waiting for them to get done. Like, come on. That's what this series has always been. Y'all need to lighten up just a tiny bit, okay? You gotta accept that there are some things that are just done for the sake of comedy. And they're funny. What I find hilarious, though, is that okay, y'all will take, like, stuff that's meant for comedy and you get pissy about it. But then you take stuff that's meant to be taken seriously and you turn it into jokes. You act like it's funny. You meme it to death. The stuff that isn't supposed to be funny, you find funny. The stuff that is supposed to be funny and frankly is genuinely funny, y'all get really mad at, especially when it happens to your character of choice. Like, I know there's a lot of people that are kind of upset right now too that Vegeta got turned into a fool near the end of the movie, and they're accusing the movie of a bait. Now, this isn't everybody. Keep in mind, okay? I know that not everyone who likes Vegeta can't take jokes at his expense, yada yada. Not every fan is a fanboy. I'm well aware of this, okay? I'm talking about fanboys here. I have seen it. They're mad that Vegeta got turned into a joke again. They're mad that he was made to look like a fool again. They're accusing the movie of a bait and switch because that preview where he's whipping his jacket off and saying that Broly's not bad. He might even make a decent warm up. That part. Oh, that was so badass. I think I peed myself a little. And yes, people actually said that. And then you come to find out that, oh no, no, that he's sitting there doing ballerina poses, mocking the fusion dance, and saying, "I won't do it." Like, come on, come on, y'all. Um, y'all are getting way too sensitive about some stuff, and yet you won't take seriously stuff you're meant to take seriously. It's hilarious. Um, and the one of the best parts too was Freeze. Freeze, I liked him in this movie because even though he didn't really do a whole lot himself, he kind of stole the show just for how animated he was, How it like I love the fact that he finds these two Saiyans out there on this planet, and they have, and at least one of them has like a really high battle power, and it's like the first thought that comes to mind is like monkey fights, just zip right off to Earth so they can make him fight the other Saiyans and he can watch. It's like to him it's no different than like throwing a couple of like dogs in a pit and having a dog fight or something. Just the sadism of that, and just the well, it's not just sadism. It's like just seeing how little he genuinely thinks of that species. Um, it's just wow, you know. Oh God, he is Frieza is like super extra. So that's one of the reasons he's one of my favorite villains. Like if he can make it over the top and cruel in some fashion, he'll do it. As evidenced when oh hey, Broly's starting to fight but it's like his Annalise got okay, well whatever. Then I guess that's that. And then oh no, he's going insane and getting stronger. And then it's like oh, I'm not quite strong enough for my taste. How do I do? Oh right, let's try this. And he just straight up murks his dad. Like just straight up murders Paragus right there. Another thing that I kind of like too. That is actually something I like. Paragus, even though he was way too controlling and kind of abusive, really, and one track minded, did, at least to a degree, kind of care for his son. But Broly genuinely cared for his father, too. Like, at one point, even when those guys are talking crap about him, it's like, you shouldn't talk about him that way. He's my dad. Please don't talk about my dad that way. And then when he sees him die, it does. It's what pushes him over the edge, and he finally, like, transforms. But like, oh man, I don't know. But I kind of like that. That was a nice touch. I like the fact that this Broly isn't a monster, like not just a mindless monster. I love that. That was a beautiful. It's one of the things that made him such a one-note character, which is why I never understood why he got two sequels. But seeing this here, I actually want to see more of this Broly. So they definitely made him a much better character here. But just how extra Frieza is amazing. And then, like to his credit too, later on Goku and Vegeta when they're fighting, they're like, okay, we got there's only one way we can do this, and they're like flying around and they zip by Frieza, and Goku's just like, have fun, Frieza, and he's like, what? Turns, looks back, oh hey, Broly's coming after me now. And the whole, behold, Golden Frieza, the last thing you will ever see, and then he just got beat on for like a full hour. Dude, that I do got to give him credit there though. Getting beat on by Broly for a full hour is arguably longer than Goku and Vegeta lasted against him, and he came out better for wear. So it's like he's no slouch. That's one thing that I did like about that, and that's one way you can do it like effectively. Because even though, hey, he just got walloped for a straight hour, um, it's not like he, was like made to look like some kind of chump or something, or made to look weak. Because, sure, he was on the losing end of the fight, but he still managed to at least put up a fight and not, just fall apart for like a full hour before Gogeta shows up. And speaking of that, oh my God, poor Piccolo. uh, you could see it in his face a couple times when Goku and Vegeta were trying to learn the fusion dance and everything, and when he had to demonstrate it for Vegeta. You could see the flashbacks to when he and Krillin had to try to teach it to Goten and Trunks. That was fun. That was just fun. Ah. And one thing that was kind of interesting is they sort of established that it is like a general trait of the Metamorian fusion, the fusion dance, that Um, the whole desire to, the whole kind of, I don't want to necessarily say super cocky because I mean Vegeto's a bit cocky at times too, but like just the whole, we need to, we need something that'll look cool, that kind of thing. It's like a byproduct of that. That I thought was funny. That was kind of that Piccolo's face when they did that too. Like, oh my God, it's Gotenks all over again. That was incredible. Um, this is like one of the most fun. This is literally the most fun I've ever had with the Dragon Ball movie. It really is. Um, but one thing that I did notice too is Broly's power and how Broly's power works. Um, I love the fact that there was actually an explanation for it. He's not just the legendary Super Saiyan, the real legendary Super Saiyan, which means that whatever you have is some weird anomaly, I guess. No. In fact, they didn't even pull that card. You know what I mean? In fact, he didn't even have that transformation at all at first. But just how it worked, like pulling that, somehow tapping into the Uzaru in him, and uh, and being able to draw that out while still in his humanoid form. Um, that to me is interesting, and it opens up a lot of possibilities. Um, because when you think about it, while not all the glands in the tail that triggered the transformation would still be there, there would have to be at least some still, or at least the avenues to it in the body. You know, because it's like this isn't just like genetics either, because your physical form changes, your key changes, it all kind of changes. So, um, and honestly, I think it might have actually been kind of a byproduct too of the fact that that moon was always just like there, and the fact that he did turn into an Uzaru apparently more than a couple times. Um, maybe that's it. Maybe it was like repeatedly changing like that did that to him. I don't know. Um, but it's an interesting concept, and it's certainly better than the whole thing that everyone thought they were going to do, which was, oh no, he just keeps getting stronger and stronger the longer he fights. He's learning as he fights. Yeah, unlimited power. No, they didn't do that. There was definitely a cap to that power. And for the record, I'm going to say it again. Based on that low effort butt whooping that Gogeta dealt out to Broly, I don't ever want to hear anyone's, and the fact that they also established that Gogeta is actually only about as strong as Vegito. They're on par with each other. I do not want to hear anyone say that Broly is stronger than merged Zamasu. I never want to hear that. Or Jiren for that matter. I really don't. Okay? Because say what you will, even when Broly was like in his last, lengths of power and everything, I've seen people try to say that Goku wouldn't even have been able to handle him in Ultra Instinct, and I'm like, no, no, because you got to keep in mind something too. Goku and Vegeta fighting Broly, two on one. While they weren't really doing any damage, they were surviving. They were whatever in a no holds barred match. Okay, when they were doing that with Jiren, and when Jiren had to, restrain himself to the confines of the Tournament of Power rules, those rules were literally the only thing keeping those two alive at that point. Like, if he had wanted to, even when they were both Super Saiyan Blue, even when they were both Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken and that evolved Super Saiyan Blue, or whatever the official name is for it, he could have killed them. He could have just absolutely wrecked them completely. And then when Goku went Ultra Instinct, there was such a gap that it was like reversed. So no, I don't want to hear none of that talk. Okay, this does not definitively prove. And honestly, I don't think he is stronger than either of them. But even either way, it's certainly not definitive proof. And definitely, okay, maybe Jiren, not merge Zamasu. I'm gonna say that right now. No way, no. Um, but yeah, I mean the whole concept of his power was interesting, and I love again the fact that he wasn't just some empty, your bottomless well of strength that brought it out as he needed it. I love that fact. You know, the fact that he did have limitations. I do like the fact that he didn't know how to fight at first, and that to make up for the gap in strength, a lot of what Vegeta and Goku, especially Goku, actually, did was make up for it with martial prowess. You know, like using his. There was actually a lot of there was judo in there. There was some jujitsu in there. There was a lot of like grappling and flipping and throwing in there. And I don't just mean like what Broly did, where he just kind of grabbed him by the ankle and slammed him around, cracked his ribs, whatever. No, I mean like just the way Goku would like use Broly's own weight and momentum against him to like knock him off balance and then attack or flip him onto his back or slam him into stuff. It just interesting, to me, because especially since everyone keeps trying to claim that Goku is not a skilled fighter. He just tries to brute force his way through everything. It's like that's not true. That's never been true. And like a lot of the big constraint with showing that in like the Dragon Ball series is that there are only certain times when they have episode budget, animation budget to show any kind of like high level stuff because it's not a seasonal series. Okay, like when you understand how budgeting works for different series, limited run series and OVAs are they're gonna have more budget per episode. Okay, even seasonal anime is gonna have more budget per episode. When you have a constant, non-stop, long-running series, which honestly, I really wish Toei would stop doing and adopt the seasonal format because I think that would actually benefit all of their properties. But I digress. It would also allow them to basically more effectively use their time slots instead of saying, okay, well, we have to stop making this for a year or 2 years, whatever, because we also have this license and we need to adapt it. We need a time slot. If you stagger it with seasons, you can do that without having to completely halt production on that for however long. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's a topic for another thing. Uh, but um, like the budget for that isn't going to be so much. And when they do have the budget to show anything like high level, let's face it, the fans are going to be mad if they don't use that spectacle for like the big transformations and the energy clashes and the everything else. Like they don't want to see that high level budget stuff when it's just plain old hand to hand combat. Especially since they're satisfied with just the looping frames. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't look too bad. Like they managed to pull that off when Goku was fighting Jiren before he mastered Ultra Instinct that second time, um, and make it look like actual martial arts instead of just random punches. So that was neat. That was. Um, so I mean, in some cases, I do think they could put some more effort into it, even with budget constraints, as exampled by that. But I digress. It's just something that you don't see too often. In that, it's one reason why I loved Toriyama's manga over that, which is something that's sorely lacking in Toyotaro's attempt at adapting this stuff, and that's Toriyama's art. It always felt alive, like the action always flowed. In a lot of ways, even his Buu Saga stuff, I know a lot of people like to say, "Oh, his art went to crap there." I don't agree. Because I can show you the sequence where Gotenks and Buu are fighting and Kami's temple, the lookout, gets destroyed. But the way it flows and everything still looks great. And the way it's framed still looks great. And the timing still looks great. Like that man and the way he has drawn things has always flowed so beautifully. And when you see Goku fighting in there, you can definitely see Goku takes his martial arts seriously. He doesn't slouch on that. His technique is actually extremely good, extremely polished, and of course it would be. I mean, he practices with it constantly. Even when he can't like push himself, you see him like doing his katas, to, practicing his form. Um, I don't understand why people have it in their head that Goku's just some brute force fighter with no polish or technique. Oh wait, yeah, I do. It's because it then allows them to give Vegeta something over him again. But I digress. I do want to say, like I said before, I do think Vegeta having the Red God form, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, I've already, I don't like it, but I've made my peace with the fact that Vegeta's going to get to some degree whatever Goku gets, because if he doesn't, the fans are going to throw a fit. Um, but, one thing I did notice is that Vegeta was actually relying a lot more on his energy attacks and his, you know, power than he was any kind of like technique when he was fighting Broly. That's not to say he was completely devoid of it by any means. No, I mean he had a couple moments that did really shine there too, but especially once he like transformed, he seemed a lot more content to just try to overpower him. And the one thing that I do notice too is that when it became clear that Broly seemed to be at his limit, Vegeta's comment, what a waste. Like it was a waste of his time, like it was a waste of whatever. And then like just how casually he fired that blast off. And it hit Broly and it like drove him deep into the water, and if he hadn't gone like berserk there, that might have killed him. He could have drowned there. Vegeta was like wholly willing to kill him there. And I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about that fact. Vegeta was wholly willing to potentially kill Broly there. Even Goku was like, stop. But, and I'm bringing this up not because it's necessarily something I'm bashing Vegeta for, okay? There's a reason that I'm mentioning this. You'll see why in a bit. Because this is actually new. This happened tonight, in fact. Um, it's one of those things where Vegeta was like willing to kill him, just despite that. And I saw a lot of by the way, a lot of write-ups about that too, and how this, reinforces stereotypes about mental illness. And I'm like, Broly's not mentally ill. He's unstable, but that's not a mental illness, and it doesn't paint it. Oh. Anyway, even if you want to try to spin that as a parallel for mental illness, it never mind. Anyway, the point is, but what stood out to me was the fact that Vegeta's still ruthless enough to do that. Still strictly to the point, to whatever. Goku though, when he was fighting him and he tapped into his Super Saiyan God form, one of the first things he did was bind him, like restrain him, and talk to him, like try to get him out of that state of mind. Goku loves a good fight. Don't get me wrong, but Goku, first of all, wants it to be a fight against somebody who knows what they're doing. You know, he'd prefer it if they knew what they were doing. They were cognizant. They were, not in a berserker rage. But it was also interesting because even though he came there with Frieza, supposedly serving Frieza, Goku could just kind of tell that he was not an enemy. Not uh, uh, certainly not like Frieza was. And he kind of tried to bring him back into a rational state of mind, you know. And the reason that I say that Goku still doesn't just let a good fight pass up though is because once all was said and done, at the end of the movie, he does still go to Broly's planet, and he gives them shelter, he gives them food, and he's like, I don't really expect anything from you for that. I know, yeah, you don't owe me nothing. I don't really care. I'm doing this because I want to be able to fight him again someday. I want to be able to train with him because he can teach me some stuff that I've never seen him, some of the things that he can do, and I'm willing to bet I can teach him a thing or two too, because he knows that Broly has the ability to really push his limits. And the nice thing too about Broly being on such an isolated planet is he can go there to do that, and they don't have to worry about potentially, destroying city. Because that was one of the things that was getting hard with sparring with Vegeta, is for them to push themselves at all. Like even without transforming, really, Bulma had to build that resort, like what was it, almost 1,000 miles or something like that south of the city. I don't even remember the exact amount, but it was a ways away, and she had to do that just to be sure that those the boys could cut loose there and not have to worry about destroying anything. And but I mean, when they have that isolated planet out there where they really don't have to worry, they can really push themselves. That excites Goku, and being able to do that with someone like Broly and potentially make a new friend, that excites Goku. Goku never really wants to be enemies with anyone. Like, there are certain people that he will recognize obviously as an enemy because they have ill intent, but he never seeks an enemy. He never seeks an opponent, someone to defeat. He never has that. And that's one of the things that I love about Goku, and it's what Toriyama meant when he said that Goku was pure and had a pure heart. It's a pure love of the martial arts. It's a pure love of fighting. It's his sole motivator. He doesn't care about victory. He doesn't care about killing an enemy. It's not about seeking glory or seeking victory or seeking revenge for him. It's always about pushing himself as far as he can go, making himself the best combatant he can be, learning anything new that he encounters that it's possible for him to learn. He is like a sponge. He just soaks it up. He loves to learn. As Gohan is to books, Goku is to martial arts. In fact, arguably, it's a trait that he inherited from his dad, albeit in a different direction. Gohan loves to learn. He soaks up education like a sponge. Goku loves the martial arts. He soaks up fighting, fighting styles, techniques, abilities, what have you, like a sponge. He will seek to push himself to learn it, to get beyond whatever limitation he has, whether it's a limitation of ability, whether it's a limitation of power, whether it's a limitation of only knowing certain styles and then he encounters a new one. He wants to overcome that, to better himself. And that is Goku. That is quintessentially Goku. You even see that in the Tournament of Power. When he's like fighting the other Saiyans from Universe 6 too. It's like, and that's why he's giving them pointers. When like you see that in him. Like, never once is there malice in him about it. Never once is there just, whatever. Like, the whole reason that he wants to fight Jiren from the get-go is he can sense that he's extremely powerful, and he can sense that right there is going to be something that's going to push him, and he can learn something here, and he can improve himself here. You know? And that, to me, is something that a lot of people misunderstand about Goku. When they hear someone's pure of heart, they think, like, in the Western sense, where it's like, I do not, entertain even the slightest bit of evil or selfishness. I do not entertain wickedness or cruelty. Wherever someone cries out for help, I will be there. No, that's not what this means. It's never what it's meant. But just seeing that reinforced again in Goku, and just, showing that again, he is still a very kind person. Even if he's not overtly altruistic. He's not the kind of person who's going to go scouring the galaxy looking for people who need houses and go into Volman saying, "Hey Bulma, whip me up a bunch of capsule houses so I can drop them there." Not that kind of thing. He's not the person who's going to go out policing the galaxy and essentially, and he doesn't need to. The Galactic Patrol's out there for that. That is their job. I think a lot of people forget they exist. But he doesn't need to do that. And that's not who he is. But if there is somebody that he has encountered that he knows about, and he knows that they need help, he's not just going to sit there and let them suffer either. That's not who he is. Not being, super altruistic and this warrior of justice does not mean that someone has to be a cold-hearted, sociopathic monster. And that's what I'm sick of seeing people accuse Goku of being, too. And that leads me to why I brought up what happened with Vegeta. Kotaku, specifically Kotaku. I've seen this in several places, but most specifically, the most recent one was Kotaku. Nathan Grayson over at Kotaku wrote an article saying that Dragon Ball Super Broly makes Broly the hero. No, there's no real hero in this instance. But it makes Broly the hero and Goku more selfish than ever. And he goes on to talk about Goku and his pursuit of power and how he goes to ever more twisted levels. And he's shown that he's more than willing to regularly endanger family and friends to try to get himself a good fight as time goes on. And it's like, where? Where has Goku, willingly endangered family and friends for the sake of a good fight? That's never happened. And here's the thing that really pisses me off too. Everyone always used to say that, back in Super, Goku basically just got billions and trillions of people exterminated, for the sake of a good fight because he wanted the Tournament of Power, and Beerus warned him that would happen. And it's like, no, that's not what Beerus warned him about. Beerus told him, "I don't want you hanging out too much with Zeno because if you keep doing that, then, on a bad day, if you go bother him and you annoy him, he could wipe out our entire universe." But the thing is, Goku said that he was pretty sure that wouldn't happen. And honestly, he's right, because Zeno really likes him and considers him a friend. And I don't think that he would, do that, but that's neither here nor there. They've gone, though, from saying that that's why Goku was a selfish monster to saying that Goku going there at all is what made him a selfish monster. Asking for a tournament at all, even if he didn't think it would have Tournament of Power rules, made him a selfish monster because by doing that, he endangered everyone in Universe 7. It's like, knock it off. Just stop. Y'all don't want to admit that you jumped the gun there. Y'all salty and try to insist that, they clearly saw the backlash and changed it. It's like, y'all do know they don't change stuff on the fly like that, right? This stuff's been in production, weeks to a month in advance. They saw, the backlash, sure, but whatever script was already in the works was already in the works. Anyway, I digress. The point is, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh God, y'all just can't admit you jumped the gun, period. And honestly, even if they hadn't made it clear that Zeno was going to wipe out all those universes anyway, not even Beerus was expecting them to say that, oh yeah, any universe that loses in this tournament will be wiped from existence. Goku had absolutely no idea that that was going to be a penalty for losing when he went to ask about that. Period. Okay? Period. So when people sit there and act like, he knowingly did that anyway, no. And they only changed it because of backlash, no. They might have clarified that because of backlash, if that's what you want to say, but even before that, that was never a thing. But it's just to see him described as a sociopath by these people, and to say that his pursuit of power, oh, he's long given up kindness and caring for others, all in the name of his twisted pursuit for power. That was an actual phrase Grayson used at Kotaku, and I just, wow. Like, did we even watch the same movie? Because we specifically see Goku tell Broly, you know, we've had our share of enemies, but you're not one of them. And, you don't have to do whatever they say. You can stop this. We don't, you don't have to fight us just because they say so. That is Goku showing kindness. That is Goku showing restraint. That is Goku realizing that this guy isn't fighting because he wants to. He's fighting because someone else is forcing him to, and he doesn't want that to happen. But no, Goku doesn't show kindness and compassion. No, Goku clearly bound him there to mock him and make him angrier because he knew that Broly getting angrier would make him stronger, and that he'd get stronger and therefore he'd have a better fight. That it was all part of his twisted pursuit of power. Yeah. Like, come on. And the reason and that's why I mentioned Vegeta earlier too. Vegeta, upon realizing that Broly wasn't going to be strong enough to be a real challenge, or assuming, just straight up almost killed him. But yet, I got to see all kinds of comments in the comment section there about how Vegeta's far kinder and more heroic than Goku. Far kinder and more heroic. Despite that happening in that scene. And to top things off, he blames Goku for letting Frieza go. And honestly, it's something that made me laugh because Vegeta, a lot of the stuff in this film mirrors the fandom because it's like Vegeta sitting there blaming Goku for Frieza coming back at all, and I'm just sitting there like Beerus was the one though who gave him his life back, and then it's like, yeah, but you offered to resurrect it. It's like, but I'm, and he's like, but and Frieza did help us out. He was only helping himself. It's like, so, look, he's gonna be rewarded for helping save the universe somehow, and if that's how it was supposed to happen, that's how it's gonna happen. But I digress. The point is, he goes after Goku for letting him go. Again, when Goku is not the one that let him go. Gogeta is the one who let him go. Gogeta, mind you, who has Vegeta inside him influencing him as well, still let Frieza go. Still. Which, by the way, I also kind of want to touch on. One of the things that this movie kind of hammered home to me is how much more Goku. Why Goku's able to stand on his own, really, in a series like this, versus why Vegeta never could. And I think I'm going to actually touch on that in a later video. But this weird notion, like that somehow this was Goku's fault. I don't get that. And on top of that, nothing is stopping Vegeta right now from going out there and ending Frieza. Like, he's stronger than him now, technically. He could beat him. He could win. But he doesn't go after him. Oh, Goku doesn't seem to give a crap that Frieza's out there committing genocide. Vegeta sure does. No, Vegeta cares because Frieza's a threat to Earth. To his home. Period. If he cared that Vegeta was potentially a genocidal maniac, or Frieza was still a potential genocidal maniac running around out there, Vegeta would be going out after him to stop him, but he does not do that. Probably because, again, that is what the Galactic Patrol is for. But I digress. Again, I digress. I'm doing that a lot. To me, though, it's so dumb You know, to see people keep trying to. I have never seen a character misinterpreted in the series near as much as I have Goku. Like, Vegeta does too. Yeah, he's got a lot of people who misinterpret him, but in a completely different way. Krillin has people who misinterpret him, but in a completely different way. Goku is like misunderstood on the most fundamental level by people who claimed to have been fans for decades. And I can't for the life of me understand that. I just can't. But at any rate, yeah, the movie was really good. I really had a lot of fun with it. Um, the new characters again was nice to see them have something to do. I do think that some of the stuff with Chilai was a little over the top. Some of the shots that they used and everything weren't really necessary. I know that they said they wanted to have more fan service in it, and apparently they meant of every variety. But it's like I don't know. So there's ways you can make that look kind of more natural than what they did, I guess. Some of it was just like obvious. I'm not sure why you would do that fan service, but whatever. Anyway, um, really liked her voice in the movie though. Guinea's too. You know, you only heard it for a little bit, but they were fitting. Um, the old guy too. Oh God, I can't remember his name right now. I hate drawing a blank on that. Also very likable. The new Frieza mooks didn't really. They were just kind of there. I'm guessing it's mostly because they're just kind of there because that's about all he's got left to. But it's whatever. Um, yeah, it was good, and it's actually got me very interested in where they might go with it. Which I actually have some fodder for some future videos for that maybe. But oh yeah, did I mention I'm probably gonna be making videos a little bit more regularly? Cause I am. Yeah. I am going to make a concentrated effort to get this done. Just like we said, we were going to be podcasting more. I'm going to be trying to do videos more. And in fact, the next video that I have in the pipeline is Does death mean anything anymore? Or did it ever in Dragon Ball? And I think the answer might shock a few people. At any rate, though, I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. Dragon Ball Super Broly was a really good movie. I don't quite agree with some people that it's like the pinnacle of animation, just because, like I said in my shorter review, some of the camera movements and everything, and some of the scenes just seemed way over, way too drawn out and way overdone. Um, Specifically when Goku was getting like slammed around by Broly, and they had like just a real quick slam and then 5 seconds of screaming and practically zooming into his throat. I don't know. That to me was just kind of annoying almost, but it's forgivable. Um, and I also don't really think it's the quote unquote best thing to come out of modern Dragon Ball per se. I think it's one of the better things though, definitely. But yeah, it's a genuinely good movie, and I cannot wait to see it again. I actually, when the pre-orders went live, I pre-ordered the Blu-ray. So, yeah, it's definitely worth your time if you haven't seen it yet, and you can still catch a showing somehow, a late one, last minute one. Go see it. If not, just wait patiently, I guess. But it is definitely worth your time, and it's definitely a pretty good addition to the series. So that is it for now. I have talked you guys to death for almost an entire hour here. And I will say goodnight and catch you guys later. Peace.